So folks, welcome to the sim, right? This screen you all know and kind of love, I suppose, right? This is the aircraft selection screen, a screen that we use every single time we jump into the sim, isn't it, right? And yeah, we're very familiar with it, aren't we? You know, it's got our search, which kind of works. I mean, the Comanche yesterday, even I was typing in PA and I was typing in A2A, nothing. I had to type in Comanche and then it came up. It kind of works, doesn't it? We got our filtering, which kind of is okay, I suppose. And then we're used to this UI, aren't we, where we have to do the endless scroll. It's first world problems here, of course, but the endless scroll to eventually find something. And it only provides limited usefulness, I think. You know, if I think of a group flight and Murph saying, well, the aircraft tonight, anything capable of 120 to 140 knots, well, you're looking through it to see actually what is it that falls within that range, and you're going through it endlessly. The other thing is that I think for us all, it's human nature to have favorites, to have aircraft that we like to fly more regularly than perhaps others as well. So getting through a lot of the noise to eventually find what you're looking for, constantly use the search, well, that all could kind of be improved. And that's where this add-on comes in, which is called Aircraft Manager. Now, it's by a developer called SonicViz. Behind SonicViz is Paul Cohen, who is just fantastic to deal with. He has been very kind to us in terms of listening to our feedback and in allowing us share this with you all, and possibly offering a giveaway at the end. I'll come back to that a little later. But this is Aircraft Manager. Now, straight off the bat, it's a very different UI. We still have access to the original UI, which is, I'd say, a card type UI, versus here we have more of a data set UI. So there is a little learning curve in terms of knowing how it works, how it operates, etc. But it's worth getting up to speed and learning about it. And I'm going to go through at least a little about how the UI works as well. So here is my list of aircraft in a different UI. And the idea behind this UI is to help, I suppose, try and manage the information overload that comes with all the aircraft that you might have within the sim. First of all, the way you see it here, well, we can change the size of that first of all. So we can bump up the size a little. Let me bump it up to the max. So that might be a little easier to see on the stream at the moment. And here we've got favorites. Nice. We've got our aircraft image, the name, our category, speed, altitude, our endurance, our range, our tags, and notes. So you can see already some cool functionality that comes with this UI now. So I'm going to go through a little about it. So here's all my aircraft. If I go back here, you can see that I can jump to a particular page. So I'm right at A's because that's the way I want it, but maybe I want to actually have it the other way. I want to be at Z's or Z's, and I can do that here too if I go to the first page. So now I'm at Z's, very handy. And you can do that for all of these individual columns as well. Okay, cool. What else? If I click here, I can filter. So if I go for 208, for example, and I hit apply, there's 208s. Very quickly allows me to filter. And I can do multiple filters. So if I want to categorize and filter based on speed, based on anything else that I have, perhaps it's a tag, I can do multiple as well. This handy little button here called Reset Grid. I use it all the time. And you can do multiple versions of sorting as well as filtering. So if I wanted to sort by, let's say I wanted to sort by, if I go to my first page, airliner, but I also want to sort by, well, what's the airliner that can do the highest altitude? If I go back to my first page, no surprise, you'll see at the top is, let's see if I go here, on the first page, it's the Concorde, right? 60,000 feet in my catalog, and I've been able to filter and sort by multiple different ways. I can also then go ahead and add favorites. So how I select an aircraft, by the way, as I say, the UI is slightly different than you'd be used to it, is by clicking on the icon, and there it's loaded in, as you can see. And again, I can go back to aircraft selection, and there it is selected. So they work in tandem, the two UIs. But if I want to favorite my aircraft, I just want this to be a much shorter, condensed list of aircraft that I use all the time. All I need to do to favorite this Concorde, for example, is click there, and it's now a favorite. To access all my favorites, I just click anywhere else. And there we go. These aircraft are all my favorites that I would like to fly regularly. Much easier way to just hone in on exactly the handful that I want to regularly fly and use. So again, if I want to click in the Comanche, there I go. Very, very simple without having to scroll endlessly page after page in the other UI. Let's talk about tagging for a second. So you'll see here we've got a column called tagging. Now again, having the customization of being able to tag your aircraft, I think can be useful, right? So you can do it any which way you like. You can type in anything at all. You've got a maximum of 30 characters here for tags. So you might say, and you know, that you need to do a thing to remind yourself, that you need to change your controls, that this is a stall aircraft, or whatever the case may be. And you can type in anything at all you like here, and there it goes, straight as a tag. And again, you can then, of course, as I say, go ahead, filter by your tag, and there it is. So you're setting up, you know, these unique ways to be able to further hone in and condense, you know, your aircraft selection as you see fit. If I reset here, it'll give me the entire list again. Let me go ahead and try and reset. Let me clear this and clear everything. There we go. Okay, so there's also notes. So these notes you'll see here, this comes out of the manufacturer of the aircraft, right? This is built in and comes straight from them. These are not notes that I have typed, but again, you have the ability to be able to change it as you see fit. So this is a long note here talking about the Comanche that A2A have typed, but I can simply Control and A, override it, and
this is where you can put in check the bank angle bezel.
Yeah, remember how to use autopilot. Right?
Hashtag versus genius.
Yeah, very, very helpful note here. But again, you know, there might be some tutorials, there might be instructions that you've stored on Post-its or on, you know, pieces of paper that get lost, right? They do. And having the ability to build it into the sim so it's there for you always to see can be helpful. And again, you can filter and categorize based on your notes in any which way that you decide to set it up, which is very, very handy. Okay, there is more. There is more. So not only are you able to, as I say, categorize, filter, and view your aircraft information any which way that you like, as well as have favorites, but it also goes further than that, that if you select a livery, it'll help remember the last livery that you've loaded in. So if I choose the Comanche here, for example, and I go into liveries and I prefer the red livery, if I go back, it will now update the thumbnail. It'll always load in with that livery that I just decided to last use, which again helps you stop having to remember, oh, I need to go into the livery section, scroll down through all my liveries and choose the one that I like there too. That's gone away now. It'll always remember the last livery that you selected for that aircraft, which again is just very simple, but very, very helpful as well. Here's another thing. What about weight and balance? So in this example, I'm going to go ahead and look for the TBM. So in the TBM, check this out. If I go to weight and balance, here is the standard default weight and balance. And the problem with this is every single time you load into the sim, this is what you get, right? So you have to manually remember, okay, I'm going to go up and change this, and I'm going to add in passengers. What about if you could save it? So I'm going to save this. And again, I can name this any way I like. So this, I'm going to call this TBM default. There we go. All right, so that's the way it is by default. But let's say I want to change it so that every single time I load in the TBM, I want it at 80% fuel, and I want to have passengers. I want a passenger that's here, and I want a passenger that's here as well. You can see my CGs changing. That's fine. I'm going to hit save, and there we go. So I'm going to call it TBM for Gibbo. Right, so it's there. I can simply go into weight and balance, click on this and hit load, and that's it done. But it goes a step further again. That's another click having to remember to go in here. What if I favorite it? So if I favorite this now and I go back into Aircraft Manager, I can actually select TBM, and it should find the Gibbo version. Oh, I don't have it as a favorite. Let me try it this way. Standby caller. And what did I call it? Gibbo, was it? But it comes up as a favorite. Oh, it was a favorite. Let me reset and choose my favorites. So as I scroll down, I should find the TBM favorite for Gibbo. So it brings it in the weight and balance here into the aircraft manager selection for me as well. So I can immediately choose that with this weight and balance and load in and fly, which is, again, just time saving. It really is. So hopefully you're liking it so far, right? But that's not all, right? It goes even further. So a hugely requested feature of the sim that, again, I think we all have, is the ability to be able to set up control profiles per aircraft. And you get that here. You get that built into this particular product, right? So as I look quickly through my notes, what this does is it simply auto switches your control profiles per aircraft, which is awesome. We've been asking and crying out for this for ages. You can see here, there's another tab called Aircraft Control Presets. Here, it's kind of similar to what we saw earlier. It lists all my aircraft here exactly with the same functionality as I showed you a moment ago in terms of how you can filter, favorite, and sort your aircraft. Well, you'll see here now are new columns. I've got my keyboard, mouse, I've got my pendular rudder pedals, I've got my HOTAS, and I've got my throttle as well as the Tobii eye. And what you can do here is assign different profiles per aircraft, which is just great. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to select my favorites, and you can see here for the first one that shows up, I've got Air Italia G91, and here it's using, if I click here, I can show you all my profiles that I have for my joystick. I've got the HOTAS Warthog profile. I've got Warthog 2023. For me, and I know all our profiles are different, and that's okay, but I use 2023 for the majority of my flying at the moment. But that doesn't work for all aircraft. So for the ATR, for example, I have a different profile that I would prefer for it to use. So all I need to do is change it from 2023 to ATR test, and the same for my throttle as well. I don't want it on 2023. That's my general profile. I want it on ATR test. With ATR, there's some different controls, etc., within the cockpit that use different buttons and levers. So that's why it's a different profile. But if you think about it, there's a lot of aircraft like that, right? Not just, airliners. What about helos? So again, think about it. What I can do here is I can filter by roto. I can go for apply. And again, I don't need to click on each one of these aircraft to assign my helo profile. I can just simply do it here, and I can do it here, etc. And now I've assigned it to that particular aircraft. So how does it work in operation? And do you need to remember to go in here to do it? Well, no. So let me show you. If I go for my favorites and I reset the grid so it shows all my favorites, here's all my favorites. I am going to fly the MB339. As you can see here, it's blank. What blank means is that it won't make any changes. It'll only make changes when you've actually put in something here. So it's not going to make any changes. But for the what is this, H125, it looks like, I do want it to change. So let me show you what happens here. If I click on this, look at this here, switching preset, please wait. So for the H145, it's now changed my control profiles to the helo ones, which is exactly what I want. Let me just prove that to you. If I go back out, go to options and control options, what you can see here is helo. So it's done it automatically for me. And if I go over to my throttle, again, helo. So it's made that change for me, and it's stored it as well. So I don't have to remember, I must remember to change my profile like we have to do it today. Now, it goes even further than that. So let's say if I go for the, I'll go back to my favorites, and I'll go back to the Comanche, which it's going to change for me back to my original 2023 standard profile. Perfect. But now, if I go back here, which is basically what I'll be using from now on as the way to select my aircraft, if I go to my favorites, actually it's the quicker way, and if I go for this, I've put a little tag in letting me know that there's a helo profile behind it. But watch, if I click that, boom, it's changed it for me without me having to remember to go into aircraft control presets to do it. So these two work in tandem, side by side. Basically, the way to think of it is aircraft control presets, you set it up once, which way you want your profiles per aircraft, and you forget it. And then you use Aircraft Manager, which will automatically change your profile based on your aircraft selection. So again, these things help take out steps from the equation. And most of the time, you jump into the sim and you're in the wrong livery. You're like, oh, I have to back out. Or you're in the wrong profile. Oh, I have to hit escape and go into control options and change it. This removes all of that and allows you actually just fly your favorite aircraft the way you wish, and which is, I think, something we've been crying out for. So Aircraft Manager and Aircraft Control presets are together in a product called Aircraft Manager. This is something, as I said at the very start, I think we're going to use, and add-ons really should be something you use all the time. I believe that this is one you would use all the time. The developer, as I say, has also offered a free version as well. So if I show you this, some of the functionality that I've just showed off is not in the free version, but the free version at least does give you the ability to jump in, check it out, and see if it's something that is of interest to you, and then decide whether or not you wish to go forward and buy the full pro version. It gives you a lot of the functionality. Things that the pro version does that the free version doesn't is notes, tags, favorites. It does have favorite livery. It doesn't have the weight and balance. The free version doesn't have, and then the aircraft control presets. Probably what I think would interest most of us, which is that auto changing of profiles isn't available in the free version. But at the same time, it is not hugely expensive either. So if I click on buy now, and by the way, you can pick this up at Orbex via the Orbex Direct as well. It's at the price of €15, which is very reasonable in my humble opinion. Now, finally, before I hand back to Murph, there is another app called Location Manager, which SonicViz have been spending a lot of their time recently on. That's come on leaps and bounds as well. So I think we'll cover that separately, hopefully next week, if not very soon. But those two products, again, kind of work very well together, and there is a bundle too of €27 for both products. So if you're on the fence and not quite sure, it might be worth seeing if Location Manager is of interest to you when we cover that soon, and then you can save some additional euros by buying it as a bundle.
Yeah, it's a really, really handy add-on. I mean, the ability to set profiles, save them per aircraft, really, really handy. It's there is nothing worse. I'm after loading in my favorite plane, but I have the wrong livery, and just like that with the control profiles as well. And one of the easiest and probably most overlooked thing, a way to apply notes beside your aircraft. Let's say, for example, you want to be flying, simulating some sort of a real world adventure. I mean, you could, at the end of your flight, go back into your aircraft selection screen and update that note to say, parked at this location with this fuel. It's almost a workaround way of creating your own state saving into an aircraft. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities.